This video is about PTE Academic Reading Part 1 to Part 3. So today's video is going to be extremely important if you're preparing for the PTE Academic exam because we are going to break down reading Part 1, Part 2 and Part 3 in a way that actually matches what happens inside the test. And before even we start, let me tell you something very honestly. Most students think reading is about understanding English. No, that is where they go wrong. Reading in PTE Academic is not just about reading and understanding. It's about structure, it's about logic, it's about decision making under time pressure. Because in the exam, you don't have unlimited time to slowly read and think. You have to process the information quickly, you have to identify the patterns, and you need to choose answers accurately, right? And here is the biggest problem: students either read too slowly or they guess without thinking, and both lead to low scores. Okay, so now imagine you are in the exam right now. Let's begin. All right, so let's first talk about part one. In this task, you will see a reading passage and then a question with multiple options, but only one option is correct. Now, this sounds simple, right? But it's not, because the options are designed to confuse you. They will look similar, they contain familiar words, and often be partially correct. Let me tell you the high scorer strategy. Kindly make a note of it. When you read the passage, don't try to understand everything. Instead, you have to ask, what is this paragraph doing? Usually, sentence one would be the topics, and the middle would be the explanation or examples, and the last paragraph, conclusion or direction. So, here you are building a mental summary. You're not memorizing the lines. Got it? Then, the step two, create a 5-second summary. So, after reading, you have to pause and ask, this passage is mainly about so and so. Say it in your own words. Example thinking like problem plus solution, cause plus effect, argument plus support. If you cannot summarize, that means you didn't understand. Then, step three, you have to use the elimination method. Now you can go to the options. Do not search for the correct answer. Instead, eliminate the wrong ones. Remove options that are too specific, or if they only cover one part, or if they have added new information, or which one has extreme words like always, never, completely. So these type of options you need to eliminate first and choose the most complete option. That means that's the final selection rule. The correct answer always covers the entire passage, not one idea. Got it? So main idea is greater than the keywords. Even if an option has similar words, ignore it if it is incomplete. Okay, so if you don't think clearly, you will pick the wrong answer, even if you understood the passage. Now, let's move on to an example here. So, here is the passage. Okay, now you see the question here. You can read it by yourself. Okay, the question is, what is the main idea of the passage? And you can see four options given here, right? Now, you have to think like a high scorer. Remember the strategy that we have discussed. Okay, don't rush. You should ask yourself, what is the passage mainly about? If you go back and check, the passage talks about the problems with private vehicles, shift toward public transport, sustainability. So, the main idea is clearly about challenges and solutions. Now, you can check the options. If you check option A, it's too narrow, right? Only talks about cost. Option B matches the full idea. Option C, only one part of the passage. Option D, this is completely wrong. So now you know the correct answer is option B. Okay, so remember the key lesson. You are not choosing the familiar answer, you are choosing the most complete answer. Got it? Now let's move to part two, multiple choice, multiple answers. So this is where things get risky. Yes, because here more than one answer is correct and there is negative marking. So you need to be very careful. If you select wrong answers, then you lose marks. Now, this means one thing: you cannot guess. Your answer should be precise. Now, I'm again going to give a high scorer strategy. Kindly make a note of it. Please take it down because this would be really helpful when you go to your exam. Step 1: you have to understand the question before reading the passage. Check what are they asking, like benefits, or they're asking about the problems, the reasons, effects, all these things. So this tells your brain what to look for in the passage. So this would be an easy way for you to check, isn't it? And step 2: scan, don't deep read, which means you can read the passage selectively. You're not reading everything deeply. You are scanning for keywords related to the options, important ideas. And step 3, the most important step: take one option at a time. And you have to ask, where exactly is this in the passage? If you cannot point it to a line, then don't select it. Simple, okay? And the step 4, use the strict rule: only select if it is clearly stated or directly implied, not guessed. So when it comes to multiple choice, multiple answers, more than one answers are correct. So you have to be very careful. Now let's move on to the passage here. If you want, you can just pause the video, kindly read it by yourself, and then move on to the questions. Now the question here is, which of the following are mentioned as benefits or concerns of AI in education? And here are the options: A, B, C, D, E. Personalized learning, increased teacher workload, reduced human interaction, improved data privacy, automation of administrative tasks. Now, again, you have to do the step by step thinking. Okay. Option A, this one, everything is clearly mentioned: personalized learning based on the passage. You have to check it back with the passage. Okay. And option B, increase teacher workload. No, actually, it said AI reduces workload. So this option is wrong. And option C, reduced human interaction. Yes, it is mentioned. This is also correct. And option D, improved data privacy. No, it said privacy is a concern. If you go back and check, it is given there. So this option is also wrong. And option E, automation of administrative task. Yes, this is also given there. So option A, C, E are the right answers. Okay, now let's move to part 3. So part 3 is reorder paragraphs. This is where reading becomes about logic. You will be given a set of sentences, and your job is to arrange them in the right order. So the key here is, this is not a grammar task, and this is a logic plus flow task, which means you need to understand how ideas connect with each other. Okay, so remember to look for the sentence that introduces the topic generally. So it usually has no reference words and very broad and neutral, and avoid sentences that start with this, these, such, they, because these words, they refer back, right? So which means they cannot be the first sentence. And you can connect sentences using the pronouns like this, these, it, so and so. So that means that must refer to something before. And then logical flow, so think it in patterns. If it is a cause, then there should be effect. If it is a problem, then solution. If it is general, then again specific. If it is an event, then it's a result. So this type of connections. And look for the connecting words like however, contrast, as a result, outcome, and therefore for the conclusion, in addition for the continuation. So you should be aware of the linkers and connectors in what context that we will be using it. Okay, because these guide the sequence. And instead of arranging all at once, you have to find pairs. Say, for example, sentence A clearly leads to sentence B. So then build sequence step by step, not all at a once, right? One by one, you have to go. Now let's move on to an example here. So these are some of the statements. Just read all these sentences, pause it and read it by yourself. Then identify which should come first and then should connect further. Okay? Now, let's think. First, we need an introduction, right? So here, which sentence introduces the topic? If you see here, in recent years, workplace practices have undergone significant changes. So D is the first sentence, right? And now what explains the reason that you have to look for, right? So B, advances in technology have made remote communication easier than ever before. So B comes after D. Then what is the result? Companies adopt remote work. So A comes next. And then what is the impact? C. This shift has changed how employees balance their work and personal lives. So the correct order is D, B, A, and C. Got it? So D introduces the topic. B introduces the cause, and A shows the result, and C gives the impact. And this is how you should think in the exam, not randomly, but logically. Okay? So remember, part one, think the main idea, the big idea. In part two, you have to think the correct versus incorrect. And part three, you should come up with a logical flow. And all three require one common thing, control over your thinking. Because if you rush, then you make mistakes. If you slow down too much, you will run out of time. Okay? So, reading is not about reading every word, it is about understanding structure, meaning, and logic. So, that's all for today's video. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more PTE academic tips. See you in the next video. Bye bye.